Hi.
Hello.
Hi, how are ya?
Feeling real
Welcome
screamy.
to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast where we're feeling real screamy.
Oh my god, should we do that again?
I love this. This is our pure chaotic energy.
Purest forms.
What else could they want?
20 minutes ago, I was panicking about Apple IDs, and now...
And now, here we are. Dinosaurs.
It's a poem!
Poem!
There's no way that that's going to
screamo.
sound good at all.
Screamoetry.
You tied my heart into knots. I sound like if I don't know what I sound like.
A Muppet, a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I sound a bit like Animal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the animal one.
Well, this is a podcast. This
is
called
a podcast.
Pathetic and Poetic.
Yeah, it is.
That's Cory.
I am Cory.
You did it again. How many times are we going to go through this? If I say that's Cory, you have to then introduce me. I can't do all the work.
Don't shame me.
That is the second time while actively recording this podcast, we've gone, that's Cory. I'm Cory. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
I'm Natalie, not that anyone cares.
Oh, is that it? Is that your name? Cool.
It is.
It's always good to know.
But more importantly, that's Cory.
and that's Natalie. And together we are the only two sides of Pathetic. And then you say, and Poetic.
Two sides of a three-dimensional coin.
So, how was your week? I guess, how was your multitude of weeks? Because we haven't recorded in a while.
We haven't recorded in a while. I've been good. I've been working a lot. Actually, I had a really, really fun night last night. I went to this Klimt exhibit. He is an artist.
Yeah, wait, he sounds...
He's got the painting with the man and the woman, and she's like this, and the man's got his
the
hand
golden
on
one.
her cheek, and they're like...
Yeah, what is that? Is that The Kiss? That's The Kiss.
Is it? I don't know names.
I believe it's called The Kiss.
Obviously, I'm into high art, and I know so much about art and artists and paintings.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I really wanted to see what you were gonna say. I was gonna give you some words to go off of, but then I was like, let's see what she says.
Her struggle. Yeah, so it was really cool. It was like the people are probably more familiar with the Van Gogh live exhibit. Yeah. Where they took basically all of his paintings and his artwork and animated it and brought it to life and made it this immersive experience. So it was really cool. You walked in this room and there were projections everywhere. So you were just walking in it.
Yeah.
And his artwork was really diverse. He had all these different kind of eras that he went through. But then he went through this period called the Secession. And it was when all these artists who were contemporaries of his and himself, they were rejecting bourgeois sensibilities and ways of life. Mm-hmm. And so they were kind of all the, he used a lot of gold and rich colors. So that was kind of stripped down. And he started using really intense brushwork. And it was all people, and it got grittier, and the bodies got more angular and kind of a little skinnier. And then he used a lot of red on their skin. So it was very interesting to watch him his art move through those eras.
I have heard kind of lackluster things about the Van Gogh exhibit, that people have said, why did I pay $55 to be in a room of basically what ends up being a Van Gogh screensaver? Oh. So, I mean, I love digital exhibitions. I love animation. anything that is like incredibly immersive. There's the Arctic House, which like you guys have in New York. Mm-hmm. There's one in DC, there's one in New York, and there's one in Miami, which I love going to. And it is like very similar to that, but like obviously it's art that is animated, and it's meant to be like animated and immersive rather mm-hmm. than like paintings that are then like recontextualized. But right. I wonder how the Klimt exhibit compares to, I know there's a Van Gogh one, there's a Frida Kahlo one that was in Chicago, which I also heard like
I didn't know
sort of lackluster things about, which I do totally get. Like I would definitely understand why, especially because there are a lot of like existing famous paintings. And so there is like slight recontextualization with the animation and with like putting it into a visual space, but I could definitely see why somebody would be underwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoyed it because it was like, I think it flowed a lot of his paintings together.
Yeah.
And I think it did kind of highlight those shifts in his eras.
Yeah.
Of like when his style was changing. Yeah. I can understand why people would feel that way, but I also feel like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just like fun and colorful, and you were kind of like inside of it.
I also went to an art thing last night.
Oh, fun.
There's a David Hockney exhibit in Chicago during the 2020s, like right before, during the 2020s. Oh my God. During the year 2020, right before the pandemic, into the pandemic, he was in Normandy and he did a bunch of iPad paintings of like the house he was staying in and the trees and everything all around, and like did a lot of them from the same spots. So it would be like the same tree, but 7 different times over the course of like March into, I think he was there until like June. I think it was called The Arrival of Spring was the entire show. So it was like showing different stuff between different times of the day and different times of the year. So it's a very interesting idea. I was a bit underwhelmed with the show because it was all iPad artwork. And he is this like renowned creator, has had like a 6-decade-long career. And he does a lot of like environmental and landscape work. But even when he's like creating like repetitive textures and stuff, they're all kind of uniquely done. So if he was like covering the tile of a floor or whatever with like polka dots to show like pebbles or something, he would be hand painting all of the dots. So they all would like look relatively the same. But if you got up close, all of them looked subtly different. Whereas when he was doing it with like a digital iPad, all of the circles looked the exact same size.
Sure.
What I didn't necessarily love about the show was that like the paintings were largely too big for a space that was much too small. And so you could see all of those kind of like digital perfections, which made it look oddly messy, which is weird.
Interesting.
The like without the personality and without like the imperfections of like the painting.
Right.
They looked like kind of digital sketches or like color studies.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I just think they should have been way smaller than they were. I like enjoy the show so much more when I took my glasses off because I couldn't see how like digitally perfect it was. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's kind of like with each brushstroke you get, no matter like how consistent of a painter you're gonna get, or how skilled, you're gonna get a little different like twinge of blue here mixed with the light blue, like whatever it is. So each little brushstroke is going to be completely unique. Whereas with digital art, you know, you have to maybe work a little harder to make it unique.
The thing that I did think was cool, though, was they had sort of animated a few of his pieces in the hallway. And I thought that was like the one missed opportunity, that the entire exhibition should have been that. That like they sort of like animated rain in the same style as what he drew and added these rain layers over top of like this farmhouse. So it looked like you were seeing it like through a rainy window, which cool. I really liked. And I was like, that should have been the entire exhibition. Should have been something like that. But anyway, this is not a podcast about art.
But it is kind of.
But it is a podcast about art, but it's not a podcast about visual art, I suppose.
But it can be.
Okay, so we're changing this to
pathetic and artistic.
Oh, I was going to say
pathetic and painting.
Pathetic and pastel.
Ooh, that's good. That's better.
Yeah.
Okay, this is an art podcast now, which is unfortunate for me because I know nothing about visual art.
I don't know, you just talked about Klempt for like 20 minutes.
I learned all of it yesterday, and knowing my memory, I will forget it all.
And none of us knew that. None of us knew that. Yeah.
Art. Look at us.
Art.
I'm going to make fun of my mom for 2 seconds.
Okay.
Or maybe myself. Okay. I don't know. I told her, she and my father recently went to France, and they went to the Louvre, and they were talking about all of the art that they saw. And she mentioned something, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was, but I had gone to a museum in Chicago, and it had been in an exhibit there. So I was like, oh yeah, I've seen that one. And she was like, you have? Where? And I was like, oh, it was like on loan in Chicago when I was there. And she was like, you go to art museums? And I was like,
wow.
I was like, yeah. I was like, sometimes, you know, when I can, I go to art museums. And she was like, oh, you're so cool. And I was like, what?
That's so sweet.
I know. It was so sweet. And I was like, my mom thinks I'm cool. Am I cool though? I think that's the thing that people do. People go to art museums, right?
Yeah, people go to art museums. I feel like...
Do people our age go to art museums?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so.
I mean, you should know that, having been somebody who's gone to an art museum and looked around at the people to see if they're similar to us in age and proportion.
I pay no attention to anyone other than myself, as a rule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then, as someone who pays almost all of the attention to everyone other than myself, I will say that
this is a perfect match.
There are plenty of young folks at art museums, and also I wonder if that's like from a like parent who lives in the suburbs versus child who lives in the city type of thing. Whereas like for them, like going to an art museum is like a big deal.
Yeah.
Like I don't know,
it's like a full day trip at least.
So
whereas I'm just like, literally my friend and I, we decided last minute. He was like, hey, there's a Klimt exhibit. And I was like, cool, I'm down. We had no plans to do that. We were just like watching TV. And then he was like, want to do this?
Even though I also imagine it was probably an hour on the train into the city to go to the Klimt exhibit.
It was all the way downtown, and both of us live all the way uptown. So it was, but...
almost longer than it would take your parents to go. They would just have to drive.
Almost longer. That's true.
Yeah.
Parking in the city, though. Nightmare.
Yeah. Nightmare, am I right?
Nightmare, am I right?
Talk about Manhattan.
Speaking of art, have you seen the movie Velocipaster?
Okay, we're not talking about this. You've brought it up so many times.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So the idea that I had earlier was I was thinking about how, like, I feel like there are a lot of very good poetic one-liners that I've, like, put in poems that I've had in my head, and then you sort of, like, wrap a mediocre poem around a really good line that you're like, I just want this so good. Yeah. You're like, you write it and you're like, I'm a fucking god. And then, like, you just need to, like fill everything else around it, and you're like, oh, whatever, I'll just put that in there. And so I was wondering what you think some of, like, your best kind of poetic one-liners are.
That's so
Or not
good.
even one-liners, or, like, two-liners or something, or just, like, good poetic lines.
I'm going to look, because I don't know if I have any off the top of my head. I do know there's one I have off the top of my head, which is... Okay. And I don't necessarily think that I, like, fudged the poem around it, but... When I thought of that line, when that line, like, came to me, I was like, okay, all right, she's a writer now. And it is actually in the poem that I published in Solstice Literary Magazine.
Okay.
And it was about my grandfather and some of my experience taking care of him, but also... like watching the women in our family really rally together and take care of him. And the line is, there is no dignity in dying, but Jesus Christ is their dignity in daughters.
I remember that line.
I really like that line. I was really proud of that line.
You read me that poem when we were that time we went to go get ramen and
Yes.
we parked in the Target across the street and we were sitting in that parking lot.
By the way.
I thought it was passable. It was a medium passable ramen.
I have low standards, I'll be honest. I have low standards when it comes to ramen. If it's salty and there's noodles, I am in. And that's all there is to it.
I have high ramen standards, so that's me. And that's me.
Maybe I just want ramen now. And thinking back on it, I don't know how good it was in the moment, but right now I'm like, oh, that would be delicious.
You just want noodles.
I just want noodles at all times.
Noodles and broth. It's noodle season right now.
It is noodle season. But also, I'm not going to get into this, but someone told me the other day they only have soup in winter, and my brain shut down. I said goodbye.
Meaning that
soup is a year-round food, and anyone who says otherwise, we have beef.
I have ramen year-round. I don't know that I have like soups year-round.
We literally can't talk about this.
All right.
We have to pull on.
So I did have one line that I was gonna say. This is from a poem that I have read to you, and it's an open letter, or it's a closed letter to a friend I don't talk to anymore, kind of about their struggles with mental health from when we were younger.
Right. Yes.
And the line that I had written was, "I'm not bitter, but I swallowed a lot of salt water to keep you afloat."
That's so good.
And I wrote that and I was like,
it's visceral, because like swallowing salt water is just ick. It's just like an ick that sits in your chest.
I used to love salt water. I used to love swallowing salt water as a child.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, it's like water, but it's like a snack.
Didn't you throw up?
No.
That makes you throw up.
It didn't.
What are you?
I'm a fish.
I'm a fish.
I found another one. This was from like a month ago, actually. So the synchronicity of my insomnia, apnea, and general lack of interest never clicked together. So the circadian rhythms continued to harmonize.
Ugh. That is like stanky.
Thank you.
I love that.
I'll take the stank. I'll take it.
Stank.
I'll take it. I'll take it home and give it as a gift.
On this laptop right here, because I have been compiling some poems.
Okay.
For a TBD project.
Okay. Are we submitting to something?
You know what it is, but they don't know what it is.
Will we have submitted to said thing by the time this episode comes out sometime in December?
Yes. Oh, there's the always fun my Sunday Scaries poem.
What's a Sunday Scaries poem?
So I wrote a poem about how I am a Sunday Scary. Which like Sunday Scaries are like when you get to Sunday and you're like, oh man, I meant to accomplish so many things this weekend, I did nothing, and so therefore I amount to nothing, and nothing I do matters, and everything is nothing. Scary. It's like that spiral when you have to go back to work on Monday and you're like, shit. But I that's me all the time. It doesn't have to be Sunday. So there were a couple lines in this I really like, but
read them all.
One of them is, someone pour vinegar down my Fight Club throat. I am tired of all the kisses burning. And to be able to reference my favorite movie, but like genuinely in a poem, was fun.
What consists of a Fight Club throat?
So, in the movie Fight Club, he kisses his hand and then pours lye on it. And the moisture from his kiss starts to burn him. And he like holds his hand there until he like submits to the pain. And then he pours vinegar on his hand. So the whole thing with the kisses burning and the fight, like pour vinegar down my Fight Club throat, it all kind of ties into that scene.
Ooh.
But it's like the asking for relief. But that is like one of the most visceral, like, things I could think of like, you're in immense, like, agony and you just want relief. And it's like vinegar. That will relieve the pain. Yeah.
Ooh.
So maybe if I pour vinegar on my face, I'll stop freaking out about my life not mattering.
No.
I'm being dramatic for poetry's sake.
I give you vinegar hug with my arms.
Oh, vinegar.
So no hurt, no more.
I give you vinegar hug with my arms.
Lace you in acidic liquid. So you no hurt, no more. Wait,
is the sweetest thing I've ever.
Is vinegar acidic or basic? It's acidic, isn't it?
It is.
Maybe. Chemically, is lye... Lye would be basic. Wait.
Lye? Yes, I think lye is super basic.
Which is why vinegar negates it out. So basic. Yes. Just lie there because you're so basic.
Sick joke, bro. And the other line I really love from this is... Which I love partially because I love it, and I love partially because Neil Hilborn loved it.
We gotta stop talking about him.
I know.
He's not here.
But all of my self-worth is pinned upon his approval, though.
Look at me. Look at me.
Look at me.
You don't need him. You don't need Neil. JK,
no, but he did. I loved that he liked this line, so it became one of my favorite lines. It's been 45 minutes since I made anything, so I started building my funeral pyre.
No. Yeah. Wait, but you built the funeral pyre, which means that you made something, which means that you can stop making the funeral pyre. Is that the point?
What?
Is that the point? That even the process of contemplating your own mortality, constitutes you being alive? Which means that you mean something, which means that no more death for you.
No more death for you.
No killing here. We do not do death on this side.
I swear this poem is not as dark as it's coming across right now. It's just that, like, I'm one of those people who, like, I have trouble sitting still because I feel like I need to accomplish things.
Natalie, a fidgety woman.
I am Natalie, a fidgety woman.
She writes poem like inky black darkness in sky that consume all your dreams and your eyes and your eyeballs. Oh. She liked to write dark poem.
What is this character?
I don't know.
Who's that?
I don't know. I just started
Who just came in this room right now?
I'm really not sure. I just can't stop making do it. I don't believe you.
I just feeling like no matter how much I do, there's always more to do. Yeah. And if I haven't done everything, then I haven't done enough. And it's like a vicious cycle there.
Yeah, because then you've never done everything, which means you've never done enough.
Correct.
Capital yikes.
Capital yikes. But hey, why do we do this? Great poetry. So it's all worth it in the end. I want to call out what is my favorite line that I've ever heard you write.
What? Wait, but we can't do that because I have a horrid memory.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'll never remember any of yours to call out one of your lines.
The reason I remember this is because we wrote this poem together. It was early days of our little writing circle, just you, me, Greg, and Invisible Stephanie. Uh-huh. We wrote a couple lines past.
Oh, I have that.
And you wrote the line, with whatever eyes are by then. And I think about it weekly.
Wait, really?
Yes.
I love that.
And I was like, ugh! I was so mad that I hadn't written that line. To this day, so livid I did not write that line.
Okay, so we're going to write poems.
Yes.
I'll use one of your lines. You'll use one of mine. What line would you like?
So this is one of my lines? Or one of your lines?
What line would you like to give me, I guess? That would be easier. What color do I want to use? I'm thinking green.
Does it have to be one of the ones I just read you?
Not necessarily, but contextually it would make sense with the podcast.
It would. Who cares about context?
it would continue some type of continuity in this podcast we've established and brought all of our listeners into.
That is a dirty word. Get it out of this podcast.
Continuity?
Yes. I don't know what line I want to give you.
Well...
Because I feel like...
I have an idea.
Okay.
Simplify it from all of the lines to one of the lines you've read in the podcast so far.
I'm Cory. I've got good ideas, and I pose them to you so that you sound like a dum-dum.
It's... Stop it. Is that... I can't. We're not... Oh my god. Pick a line!
Pick a line!
Pick a line!
Well, here's the thing. I don't want to give you... There's no dignity in dying, but Jesus Christ is their dignity. Well, why don't I give you just the first part?
Okay.
There is no dignity in dying.
Okay.
Is that okay? Or you want the whole line?
Well, I'm not a daughter.
Right. That's why I didn't want to give you that one.
Or another line you've read. To maintain continuity on our podcast.
Well, the other ones I mentioned were...
Don't forget, y'all, the Who's the Villain of the Podcast tally is still running. And if after this intense mocking session you think it just happens to be Natalie, which I'd be pretty inclined to agree with you. Pick a line!
Working on it. Oh, man.
Is that how I sound?
No, are you joking?
Am I some type of mute Muppet to you?
Is that all I am to you? Okay, I'm going to give you, I am tired of all the kisses burning.
Okay. All right, I'll take that.
Yeah, we'll take that line.
Let's see. What do I want to give you? Stop it! Oh my god!
You know that I'm joking and you in no way sound like that, right?
I don't know that.
You don't sound like that.
I don't know.
I do that to everyone. I do that mostly to my father. When he's saying things and I just want to shut him down because I'm being a dick, I go, What I'm saying to you is I love you on a level that I love only my closest and dearest people in life. You're like family. When I say
I love you just like your dearest family. You're like, I love you like family. I could give you...
I mean, I love that saltwater line.
Oh, yeah. Actually, let's do that one. I'm not bitter, but I swallowed a lot of salt water to keep you afloat.
So are we starting our poems with those lines?
Actually, maybe it would be good if we start the poem that way.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. And we're back from writing.
Hell yeah, we are.
I guess, should we figure out who's pathetic and who's poetic this week?
Oh, yeah.
What's the most pathetic thing you've done this week?
For reasons I'm not going to divulge on this podcast, but I think I have been the most pathetic since our last filming. Filming, recording.
Yeah.
Goodbye. I wouldn't just write based off of that.
So you've been pathetic. Or have others been pathetic around you? Oh,
that's true.
Yeah.
I am stalwart. It's the others who are pathetic.
I think you're a pillar on the hill.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
I also think of you as a pillar on the hill.
Well, I've decided that I'm reading my poem entirely in an accent.
I love that.
Okay.
That's epic.
Yeah.
I think that wins you poetic just because of how epic you are.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily all of that pathetic this week, but you're immensely poetic, so you win.
Okay. All right. I'll give you pathetic this week.
Yay. Courtesy of Cory's line as the first line. And I also have to give credit. I sing a little snippet in this one.
You sing?
I sing.
You sing.
Just real quick.
Okay.
A little sweet little line from a Dave Matthews song.
Oh.
I don't have a title for this, so write in and title this poem. I'm not bitter, but I swallowed a lot of salt water to keep you afloat. I'm not angry, but I did burn my hand trying to cleanse you from the walls. I'm not confused, but I ripped up all the maps so I had no way to find myself seeing your face again. I'm not happy, but I'm gonna be. I'm not written on a page yet. Does that bother you? That if I ever am, it won't be your words. Won't be your pseudonym laying claim to my invention. That my hands don't just hold, they also hit. That my eyes don't just sparkle, they see. That my mind does not merry-go-round about the idea of you, but creates and churns and wants and does not want the idea of you. I fall so hard inside the idea of you, but you're not an idea. Ideas don't breathe. Ideas don't flush. Ideas don't drive too fast on exit ramps. So what of me? Do you see the breath fogging up my glasses? See the color drawing from my cheeks? See me barreling down the exit? Or am I too busy dancing naked in your hippocampus? Too busy pouting out of windows for you? Are you too busy trying to guess why I've deviated from my plot? Do you keep guessing why you have to keep guessing? Am I too much? Am I too busy? Am I too fat? Am I too loud? Maybe I'm too young or else too old. Maybe I'm too smart or too dumb. Maybe I'm too dramatic. Maybe I'm too nerdy. Maybe I'm too boring or too interesting. Can you put your finger on it? Too slutty, whorish, skanky, too ditzy, too crass, too emotional, too forgetful, too vain, too weak or else too strong, too distractible, too crazy. No, what's the word? Is it real? Am I just too much like a real person for you? A little too much free will and discernible personality for your taste? Maybe swallow your own oceans. Maybe sage yourself away. Maybe lose the path in the deepest part of that forest. Does it feel a little flat? Life like paper thin? If that tree of you falls and no one cares to hear it, would you make a sound at all? You are not happy, but I'm gonna be. That was quite a sound.
Okay. That was also not the sound I intended to make, but it
was great.
Sort of came out of my mouth.
Very like velociraptor meets like turtle having sex.
Yeah. That was, I don't know if that was about a particular person or not.
It wasn't, but it was kind of, we were having a conversation about people.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of, I'm sure a lot of girls feel some sort of similar feeling to this, of the whole like manic-pixie-dream girl thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that people tend to like the idea of you and don't want to look at the fact that you're a three-dimensional human being.
Yeah, yeah.
And so even though you're like quirky and fun, it's like, I also get to choose whether or not I like you, you know?
Yeah. And it felt very like your life is uneventful without me as the thing that somewhat makes you interesting.
Right. If anyone out there knows the movie Ruby Sparks, all that. Yeah, it's like the manic pixie dream girl is written to come in and save the man from all his like sad boy hurting. But it's like, what about what she wants though?
Well, have you heard of the term like when a character gets fridged?
No. What does that mean?
It's the idea. It is that like that idea that like that the female character comes in only to inspire the male character, but the idea of somebody getting fridged is similar to the fact of where you would have a character who gets murdered or dies, or in the case of where the term actually came from, like a character I think gets trapped in a fridge or something, and it's that idea that like the female character is only like the prop to either make the male character fall in love with them or to die to like push them into the finale. You end up being just the reason that the character moves forward, or the reason that the character alternates their story or whatever.
Rather than you having a character arc or like a journey of any kind. It's like you're just a plot device.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can be anything, so then why aren't you everything?
Right.
And I love that you brought it back to the salt water of like you can swallow your own seawater. Beautiful. Just yeah.
Thank you. That's why I was trying to end it and I was like, maybe it's over. Do you want to hear my original ending? It's real bad.
Yeah.
So I read the whole thing with a little too much free will and discernible personality for your taste. It was literally, this was the end. Oh, drat. What a crying shame.
That sounds like something that should go in mine.
That's what I was like
very...
maybe make it like just a little like funny sarcastic at the end. But then I was like, then I was like, maybe it's over. But then I was like, oh, I should really bring it back to the beginning.
Yeah.
With the salt water. And I said trying to cleanse you from the wall. And I was like, oh, then I had this idea of like, well, what if they can swallow the seawater.
Yeah.
But then what would they sage themselves? And I was like, oh, they sage themselves till they're 2-dimensional.
Yes.
And then kind of like, how's it feel? Like you're insignificant? Oh.
Little lad.
Oh. Mm. Yeah, that person who's just like a bubbly, happy person, and you think you have this idea of them as this bubbly, happy person, but it's like no one is happy all the time.
Yeah.
If they tend to come around to that and they're a bubbly, happy person, that's awesome. But even the happiest people on earth are not happy all the time.
Yeah.
So do you still like them and find them interesting and want to talk through their problems with them when they're not like, but it's all going to be fine?
It is those people, though, that really make you worry, though, when they do dip. Because, like, if they're at a steady 8 all the time, and then they even go to, like, a 7.5, you're like, oh, my God, what do we do?
Yeah. Because look, people like that tend to be, like, the cheerleaders of their, like, friend groups or whatever. And so, like, and not to dub myself that, but, like,
too late.
What?
Is it too late?
Do it. No, but I do. Like, I feel like a gift that I have is, like, motivating people or, like, encouraging people.
Yeah.
And, like, bringing a good attitude to no matter what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, cheering people on. Like, I like to be, and I feel like I'm good at being a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And...
But who fixes the doctor? Like,
right. Yeah. Like, I can't be a cheerleader all the time.
Yeah.
And so, like, I really appreciate when my inner circle close friends, when I come to them and say, like, woof, like, I am struggling with this, or I'm questioning every life decision I've ever made. And it's like, even though I'm normally the one telling them it's all going to work out and you got this and you're like an incredible blah, 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 giving the pep talk, they can then, like, I'm lucky to have people who can then turn around and say, oh, this is a moment in which you need a pep talk. And so I'm not just going to say, well, buck up, it'll be okay.
Sounds tough.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find a you for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of love that we both unknowingly wrote poems about, like, I don't want to date you. Because that is kind of how my poem goes as well. I couldn't help but fall into the trap of, like, thinking along similar lines to, like, what would you write? Because the first line is your line. And then I was like, no, I need to think about this in a completely different way. And so, of course, I started reading it in my transcendental accent. Wait, is that the word, or like the Transcendental.
Well, transcendentalists, they're
accent.
like philosophers.
No, what am I thinking of? The mid-Atlantic accent. Is that what I'm thinking of?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, the like, transatlantic accent. That's what I'm thinking of. The transatlantic, not transcendental.
Transcendental.
Okay, I'm going to have to sub in all the times where I said transcendental to transatlantic. I started kind of doing my transatlantic accent, and then I really liked it, and then the whole thing just became like this stream of consciousness sort of rhythmic monologue.
Love that.
Okay. All right, so this is I'm tired of all of the kisses burning. Well, I'm tired of all the kisses burning. It's not bile bubbling up or the butterflies going apeshit in my belly when you lean in to plant one. My skin has no flutter. Well, and it ought to. Well, I deserve the buzzing in my ears and the pittering in my innards and all other insect-based verbs we've given to love, but instead, well, you just bug me. I don't mean to be rude. Well, I don't not mean to. Well, what I mean is that I mean it, and I mean it when I say, well, you're not my apple pie in the eye-sky guy, for as much as you want me, and I can feel it in the crisp of your lips, well, I'm lame at the thought of feeling that forever. I don't want a kiss to burn. Well, I want it to set fire, you see, volcanic eruptions. Not like that. Get your head out of the gutter. Well, you just don't get it. I want my bones to rattle when that someone walks in the room. Like they're already making space for them. Heart palpitations should be my default and high blood pressure my standard. The pads of my feet will conspire with my heart to start journeying towards you whenever they walk in the room. My tongue will do this funny thing like it's always ready to laugh, because it knows I will with you. You see, you sweet so-and-so, I'm tired of burning kisses, because I wouldn't feel a twinge of pain if I was on fire too.
How dare you, sir? That was like simultaneously so like, yeah, fuck you, I don't want to kick you. And like so sweet at the same time, because you're like, I'm holding out for something that is gonna like the bones shifting line. Fuck right off with that one. How dare you, sir?
Sorry.
The accent made it like so funny, but also I could like see this parts of this monologue happening in like a It's a Wonderful Life era movie. Yeah. Like, no, George, shouldn't be like this. The kisses shouldn't burn, George.
I was thinking of like giving the person a name. And then I was also trying to keep like some of the things, like some of the pronouns gender neutral. But then I kept like switching it back to you. So then it was like I was telling them, you're not good enough, but you could be if you did this thing, but you don't. Like, I was somewhat imagining like the, I know like the Witch and the Wizard of Oz is also like the woman who steals Dorothy's dog. She's like, yes. well, I own most of the town. I'm taking this dog straight to the sheriff's house, and that's all they'll be said about it. And I was kind of like thinking of it like, it is vaguely like if Wicked was done in the 1940s or whenever Wizard of Oz came out.
Oh,
but like,
my God.
It's almost like the Elphaba's talking to Fiyero, and she says, well, I'm tired of kisses burning.
Oh my God, this is so As Long As You're Mine.
As long as you're mine.
There was a moment, I'm trying to remember, you said, oh, you old so-and-so, I lost my damn mind. There were a couple moments, and I should have written them down because I forget them. But that was one moment I lost my mind.
I saw you when I said but instead you just bug me.
That killed me. Dead.
I looked right
about, like, the butterflies and all the bugs and blah, blah, blah. But instead, you just bug me. I love that. It's like you should have all the bugs, but you shouldn't be bugged.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
So good.
I have that section of like, I don't mean to be rude. Well, I don't not to. I don't not mean to. What I mean is that I mean it and I meant it what I'll say. And like, I was like
perfect.
I tried rehearsing that like 4 times and I was like, well, it doesn't make any sense.
It's perfect though. It's the whole thing of like when you're trying to, it's that like awkward moment of like trying to explain to someone, you're not trying to be mean, but you're also like, no, this is my boundary and respect it. Like, I'm holding out for a hero.
Yeah.
And it ain't you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I loved that.
Thank you.
And I love it in the transatlantic accent.
I know. I don't think, if I read that as myself, I don't think it would sound good. Not good,
I mean,
but
I
like
think
as
it would
good.
still hold up, but I think the transatlantic accent for like kind of no reason, but also like it works perfectly. It just elevates it. It's maybe, like, why is it there? You don't know, but matter. You know that it's good. Honestly, like I don't write very like, I wish the viewers at home could see me now. I don't write like sensual poems. Like I don't include anything like that typically.
She's doing an interpretive dance where she looks sort of like
it's
Squidward.
Like the worm with your arms, like whatever that is.
Yeah.
I typically don't include any of that. So I had a line tonight. Oh, it was am I too busy dancing naked in your hippocampus? And that's probably like the raunchiest line I've ever written. But I was like, it kind of works.
I thought that was like a reference to something. Her dancing naked must have been something that she like did with somebody where he was like,
never in my life.
But like you can easily picture one of those like douchey, I'm everything and I want one of those everything girls being like, hey, can you just like, I don't know, just like dance naked, just like a little bit.
But that's the thing. It's like, I feel like that's all wrapped up in like what the expectation is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's like, I have this perfect image of like this perfect girl, but then also like in just the perfect way that I want, she's gonna be dirty.
Like a dirty stripper.
And like, well, it's like the Madonna horror complex ties all into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, not to bring it back to my poem, but
you did.
But I love that you. I'm sorry, but I love that you have like some raunchier moments in your poetry. I love that like freedom that you have you feel to do that.
Well, I
feel like you're rubbing off on me. And I didn't mean that in a dirty way.
I'm making you a dirty girl and I'm rubbing up on you and I'm saying, look at my skin cells getting on yours.
I'm dead. Don't you shed your skin cells on me, sir.
Keep them on your own skin.
Keep your skin scales to your skiff.
Your skin scales. Keep them over there.
Your skin cells.
I'm one of those people where like, when I become comfortable with a thing, I start to talk about it. And the more I talk about it, the more comfortable I get about it. And so I think that is part of that, like discussing a thing does release some type of serotonin. Like they always talk about when you're coming up with a new project or you're coming up with a new thing, never talk about it. Did you tell me this?
Just heard this. Maybe.
Okay. No, then you didn't.
I feel like I heard this within the last year.
Okay, then maybe you did.
And it was literally right after I had this big idea for something.
There's a possibility we talked about this on...
And I told everyone about it.
One of our earlier podcasts. So maybe it was you. But I'll say it again. That when you come up with a new idea, don't tell anybody about it because you get a serotonin hit from that initial conversation and from people's excitement about your idea. Instead,
as though you
shut your mouth.
Manifested it already.
Yes. And I do that all the time. And like half of me wants to tell it to someone so that way they will tell me that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And of course, no one ever does.
Off the hook?
Kind of.
To do it?
Well, like, I think at first I was like, I just want to do this so that way they check me because if it is the worst thing they've ever heard, I want to hear it from someone now before I get too far down the thing. Okay. And then the other part was, well, I want to tell it to people so that way they hold me accountable because then when we check in next time and we're like talking about our stuff, they're like, oh, hey, how's your short film going? And I'm like, I didn't do anything with it. And so
And then you go home that night and do it all in one.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, it's done. I'll show you a short film.
Is that what you're going to do for your submission?
Yeah, 100%. You don't think I can make a short film in 7 days? Well, guess what? I'll make it in 2. But yeah, we should probably wrap up now that we've been recording for twice hours.
Twice hours. You're going to have so much fun editing this.
I know. I'll edit it completely in half.
Great poem tonight.
You too.
Love that.
Yeah, this was...
And I love that we mind melded onto the same topic without talking about it.
We should probably like actually say,
yes.
If you want to listen to more podcasts, follow our Instagram. Poetic Pod, spelled POETIC POD. So it's Poetic Pod at Instagram. You can find our podcast, Pathetic Poetic. We have been making the joke that it's wherever podcasts, but at the moment it's only on Spotify. So, and I was going to say this, but I forgot to tell this to you. It's up on Spotify live right now. I saw it while you were reading your poem. My Spotify re-gooped. She's live.
That's so exciting.
So if you wanna listen to our first episode,
if you're here, I'm hoping you started from the beginning. Otherwise, you're probably so lost. And with that in mind, always remember
and never forget.
Don't you ever forget.
Don't you remember it and always
remember
never...
it to
goodbye.
Goodbye.